Number 6. Did the COVID pandemic freak you out and you're still not over it? You're not a crazy person and you're not a bad person and you're not a flawed person. You might simply be suffering from amygdala hijack. In the last few videos of this series, I shared a video of some amygdala hijacked ladies screaming and shrieking and melting down and hitting each other over toilet paper hoarding behaviour in a supermarket during the height of COVID insanity. Then I speculated that the inspiration from this behaviour might have come from the top, so to speak, from the leadership class. And I showed another viral video of a rather unhinged, in my opinion, senior politician in an amygdala hijack state. By the way, this is Amygdala Hijack series number 6. Follow me, like and share and do all the other things if you want to know more. Or go back and check out some of the earlier videos of the series. Also, links in my bio if you want to connect with my private practice. You know, so I guess my point here is twofold, or maybe threefold, or maybe morefold, severalfold. Point 1. It's super understandable that we got amygdala hijacked during the pandemic, particularly under the influence of our leadership class and the whole of society mobilization to fight, flight, and fear this pandemic because they were all freaked out too. And I understand the fear, and I understand the whole of society mobilization against the pandemic. But my statement here, such as it is this. I think there was a multi-dimensional failure of our leadership class and our media class for that matter. In fact, you could throw in all of the sense-making organs of our society and culture, especially when contrasted with the emotional tenor of the response of our leaders of bygone eras when faced with enormous threat and trauma, such as Churchill and Roosevelt, as I illustrated earlier. When we needed our leaders in COVID to help us with emotional regulation, they poured petrol on the freak-out fire. So there's my statement. I would also like to add here that it is bizarre to me that we were so poorly prepared for the stress, threat, and trauma of the COVID era, when we have the benefit of 90 odd years of psychological research, labour and insight under our belts regarding stress, trauma, amygdala hijack states, rest and digest, fight, flight, freeze, and the rest. What the hell has happened to 90 years of psychological insight regarding stress and trauma since World War II? I think this is a very interesting and painful question for a psychotherapist, especially a psychotherapist, and those of us in the mental health and welfare support sectors. It's almost as if we've gone backwards with this stuff rather than forwards when you compare us to the keep calm and carry on generations of Churchill and Roosevelt. Ultimately, I think the biggest unanswered question is, why did our leaders react so differently to leaders of bygone eras? You know, and I think, unfortunately, the answer to this big question is beyond my abilities right now, and it's beyond the scope of this video essay series. But I do think it's a legitimate question. And ultimately, though, I think we need to say that our Ultimately, though, I think we do need to draw a line and say that our leaders are human beings too, with human feelings and human frailties. And it's not necessarily their fault that they were amygdala hijacked. Just as it's not the fault of the poor Sydney toilet paper lady's fault that they were amygdala hijacked. But we have a model that shows us a different approach. And it comes from our grandfathers and grandmothers and great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers. Arguably, they did it better than we did. They showed us the way, a better way. We could learn from them. We should learn from them. Because the next crisis is coming, ladies and jelly spoons. And I don't make many guarantees in this game. But that is something that I think we can be sure about. The ultimate learning, I'm arguing here, is how can we learn to stay in rest and digest mode in the face of crisis? Or at least how can we return back to an emotionally regulated state when we are in crisis as soon as possible? We failed to do this in COVID. We can't afford not to reflect deeply on this in anticipation of the next pan-social wide stressor.